Recently, I put together my first dust collection system and I'm really happy with it. However, I found the process to be very confusing and frustrating. So today I'm going to tell you how I put my dust collection system together, and I'm going to share some tips that will hopefully help you avoid the same kind of frustrations I experienced. And then I'm going to show you the fittings that I chose to connect my tools to my dust collection system. So stick around, it's going to be fun. My name is James, and this is Homestyle Woodcrafts. Today I'm going to be telling you about the different parts of my dust collection system, but I want to let you know that I'm not sponsored by any of the manufacturers. I bought all of this equipment myself. Now I have a small shop and I have a small budget, and so I figured I'd be building my dust collection system around a shop vac. And I knew I'd want to protect my shop vac from the sawdust, so I got a cyclonic dust separator. Now I picked out the dust topper. I liked the low profile, had a good price point for me, and it got good reviews. The dust topper comes with a 2.5-inch diameter hose, so I wanted to find a shop vac that would be compatible with a 2.5-inch hose. And that's how I found this rigid. It also comes with a 2.5-inch hose. That's my first tip. Tip number one is start somewhere. Just make a decision and start somewhere. Whether that's the shop vac you already have, or maybe you want to build your system around a particular tool, or whatever the reason. But if you just make a decision and start somewhere, it will make subsequent decisions easier. Of course, now that I had the foundation of my dust collection system, I wanted to see what tools it would hook up to. And as luck would have it, the 2.5-inch diameter hose that came with my shop vac hooked directly into my router table, which is a Bosch model RA1181, and my rigid spindle sander. It did not hook up to my table saw, which is a SawStop contractor table saw. It has a 4-inch port, and it didn't fit my Wen 10-inch bandsaw, which has multiple rings on the port for fitting hoses, but it was too big for the smallest one and too small for the bigger ones. And I knew that the 2.5-inch hose would be too big for the rest of my tools. So then, as I tried to figure out how to hook up my tools, like this sander for example, to my dust collection system, that's when it got really frustrating. I went online and did a lot of research and found every shape and size of fitting and hose. There were inside diameter measurements, there were outside diameter measurements. My owner's manuals would say, you know, the dust port was one size, I'd measure it, it was a slightly different size, and it was all confusing and frustrating. So in my desperation, I just decided to go down to my local woodcraft woodworking shop and ask a lot of questions. And you know what? It was awesome. They were very helpful, and I learned a lot. And so that's tip number 2, and that is find a knowledgeable source and ask a lot of questions. So that visit to Homecraft was so helpful, I decided to make another visit. This time I took the actual hose from my shop vac and I just started trying fittings. If I could figure out something that would fit the hose and fit my tool. And I started finding things. And so that's tip number 3, which is take your actual hose or take your actual fitting and go to a place where you can try stuff on to see if it's going to work. I found it really, really helpful. And in doing so, I found a 4-inch fitting that I thought would fit my table saw. But you know what? When I got it home and I tried it out, it didn't fit because it turned out the port and the fitting were exactly the same size. So they just kind of butted up against each other. So I ended up taking it back. So that's tip number 4. Just be prepared for some trial and error. It's okay. I found something that would work a lot better, and that is a fitting that was rigid on one side but flexible on the other, so that it had some movement and could adapt to slight variations in the tool's dust port. And so as I realized that there were flexible fittings and that they weren't all hard plastic, that was really helpful to me. So here's step number 5, and that is check out your local home improvement center, go to the plumbing or electrical section and look for these flexible fittings. And they come with these clamps on the end so that you can adjust the size. So helpful, so helpful. Check it out. Okay, so here's the fun part. I'm going to show you the fittings that I got to connect my tools to my dust collection. So let's start with the table saw. So I got this 4-inch to 2.5-inch adapter. It's called a 4" to 2.5" TPR Quick Connect adapter. It attaches with this clamp on the one end to the saw, and that works really well. Now for my table saw, because this is kind of up under the table saw, I needed some additional length for this adapter. So I bought this piece, which is called a 2.5" OD, which means outside diameter union, and it just fits really snugly, I might say, on the end here. And then I got one more piece, which is called a 2.5" hose splice, and it fits inside there. And this gives me that length I need. So it kind of sits under my table saw like this. And then I can take my hose that goes to my shop vac. Actually, it goes to the dust topper, and it fits in like this. And it's been working great. For my Wen 10" bandsaw, I used the same connector that I used for my table saw, which is the 4" to 2.5" adapter. And so I can just slide it on over the largest fitting for the dust port. I tighten this clamp, and then when I need to, I can just plug in my hose. I did not want to have to create or buy a separate adapter for each one of my smaller tools. But fortunately, in my research, I found this product, which is the Dust-Rite FlexiPort Power Tool Hose Kit. In this kit, you get a 12-foot flexible hose. And on this end, it fits directly into my dust topper dust separator without any adapter. So that's awesome. I love that. And then it comes with these 4 flexible ends that, because they're flexible, can adapt to slightly varying sizes in the dust ports of different tools. And between these 4, I've been able to attach them to my different smaller tools. And that's been really great. And so I didn't have to go buy or make a bunch of different sizes adapters for each particular tool. And now I'd like to show you some examples on my tools. I did end up making a custom fitting for my scroll saw. And that's because I didn't want the dust collection hose coming towards me and getting in my way. So I bought this little PVC elbow, and I adapted the size with some electrical tape. And then I can just fit my adapter here, and the hose will be going this way. Here are your 5 tips. Number 1, make a decision and start somewhere. Number 2, find a knowledgeable source and ask a lot of questions. Number 3, take your hose and your fittings and go into the store and try things out. Number 4, be okay with some trial and error. And number 5, check out your local home improvement center in the plumbing and electrical departments and look for flexible fittings. I found them to be a game changer. Hey, see this link up here? Check it out. It's a good video and you're going to want to watch it. And thank you for watching.